The Toby Gribben Show podcast.
Thank you for downloading this episode of the Toby Gribben Show podcast. Don't forget you can listen to the full show live at shoutradio.org.uk and all of the clips right here on the podcast. Anyway, enjoy the interview. Antonio Della Torre is a 12-year-old Australian schoolboy who loves to sing and perform. He also plays piano, violin, drum kit, and tuned and untuned percussion. And he's recently taken up classical guitar. And he's with us here just now. Good morning, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing smashing. So, how old were you when you first started singing?
I was about 9. I've always sang in the house, but I took it up with a teacher when I was 9, and then I got into classical, and then...
Yeah, and that classical style, is that what you always did, or did you start off maybe singing in a normal way?
Well, yeah, when I first started, I was just singing like what music I'd listen to, which was more contemporary. Used like the stuff from the 80s, like Cat Stevens that Dad would play me in the car.
Yeah.
And that was what I started just like singing around the house, and then got into classical and I loved it.
Yeah. And now, what type of songs do you prefer to sing and record?
Well, I love my classical, but to be honest, I prefer some contemporary. Like classical's fun to sing, and it is hard, but it's got that feeling like you've got achievement of putting the effort in and actually getting a reward.
Yeah.
But with contemporary, you get more people view it, and to me, I actually listen to myself sing contemporary more than I do listen to myself sing classical.
And contemporary, I suppose, does it have a wider appeal? Because maybe particularly with younger people, they hear a song that they know and are familiar with, they're more likely to enjoy it.
Yeah, it does have more wide appeal because it's newer, more people recognize it, and it's not all about runs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's newer and it's more upbeat.
Yeah. And how do you decide which contemporary songs you're actually going to sing?
Well, Dad's been listening to music for years, so he'll just show me a song and he'll say, "Can you sing this? And do you like it?" I'll listen through it, tell him where the hard spots are going to be, and then I'll sing it if it works and fits in my voice range.
Yeah. Is there any contemporary genre that you haven't done yet that you would like to do, or maybe just a song in particular?
Yeah, one that I'd like to do is rock, that I will be starting to do some of, and also jazz.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you think that your voice would work with that genre? I guess you have a very versatile voice, don't you?
Yeah, I think it will. I've been listening to a lot of John Farnham recently, and there's a few songs from him that I've chosen and that I like, and I think it would work. And with jazz, I'm just starting to listening to some of that.
Yeah. So of the recordings that you've done, are there any that you're most proud of?
Probably with my classical, probably Alleluia, which is Exultate Jubilate. It's got really challenging parts in it with the runs, which makes it a really high-leveled piece. And that, I'm really proud of that in my classical. But with my contemporary, probably one of the ones would be Hey Jude, because I got that. I didn't stuff up any words, I don't think.
Yeah. And Hey Jude is quite a long-ish song, isn't it? So it's quite impressive not to make any mistakes.
Yeah.
And what exactly do you mean by the runs of a song? What is that for an ignorant person like me?
Well, it's in the middle where you're going between notes to get to a peak. Like it's da 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 da. So it's stepping up and then going back down to step up again. Like taking 2 steps forward, 1 back, 2 steps forward, and then 1 back.
That's interesting. And on the songs, of course, you play many instruments, and there are many instruments on the songs. So is that you playing those instruments?
Not yet, but I have started to learn some of the pieces just to like play along with. But in the near future, I probably will be playing along to my singing.
Yeah. And how high can your voice go? Because I guess when we listen to the contemporary songs, we sort of forget that you can go quite high, can't you?
Yeah, I can go to F#6, which is a small amount off the top of the piano, like probably about 8 keys off the top.
And then on the other end, how low can you go?
Down to A2, which is about the middle of the bass range.
Wow. So you can do all sorts of songs. Is there any song that maybe you've tried to do, but even for you, it's out of your range?
Yeah, there is a fair few, because like it'll sit perfectly in the chest voice, but then it'll go a little bit too high into the spot where the voice cracks, which is what I'm currently working on with my teachers to try and smooth out that crack.
Yeah. And also in your songs, you sing in many different languages sometimes. Is that hard to do, or is it maybe just as easy as learning any lyrics?
Well, it depends what languages. For like with Italian, I find that as easy as English. It's not really that hard. But with some other languages like German, I've been finding a little more difficult. But I've recently taken up German at school because they offered the course. So that will hopefully help with my pronunciation.
Yeah, hopefully. And you do all sorts of languages. Do you do Welsh as well?
Yes, I sang a song in that, Suagan.
Yeah, I have no idea. And also you were part of the 12-boy chorus in John Bell's Carmen for Opera Australia at the Sydney Opera House. What was that experience like?
It was amazing to get to know the experience of what it is working in a professional production, like being backstage, all the organisation, and also being conducted by Maestro Christian Badea was amazing, who's well regarded. And it was amazing to he'd always just stop in and say hello to us. He'd make the time. And also working for Opera Australia they were very kind. They'd always ask how you were doing, all the managers, and it was a very loving environment.
Yeah. And the Sydney Opera House is, I think, without a doubt, the most famous opera venue in the world. So do you ever get nervous when you're performing at places like that?
Well, the first time I performed in the Opera House, I did get a little bit nervous, but it was only in front of a few people because it was a test run through. But then I never really have gotten nervous. That was like the first time I got nervous, because it's like, oh, there's going to be like 2,000 people or something in the audience. And then ever since then, I don't really get worried. And then after the first night, I wasn't really worried. Not nervous, just relaxed.
And the Sydney Opera House is probably impossible to beat, but are there any other venues that you would love to perform at?
Yeah, some would be Covent Gardens and the Met and Teatro La Scala.
They sound like very fancy places. Do you think that the Sydney Opera House would have been the dream, but you've already done it?
Yeah, it was always the dream when I used to go there and maybe see like Chorus Oz, which was a thing that they did there where they got lots of people to just sing in a choir, which was fun. And I wanted to be either a solo there or even just sing in the Opera House because it has amazing acoustic. And it was amazing to be able to go there.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we go then. Which singers have inspired you?
Well, for my contemporary, some that have inspired me is like the Beatles. Their style is amazing. Like they were so popular, and I listen to them most of the time, and they sound amazing. But with classical, Axel Rickoven, I used to set benchmarks to him and listen and try and compare myself to him to see how I could do better. And also Moray West.
And in terms of composers as well, do you have any favourites?
With my classical, I have Mozart, who's a favourite, Schubert, Franz Schubert, and Schumann. But with my contemporary, probably Cat Stevens. He's really fun to sing his stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you're mainly a singer and performer, but would you maybe want to get into composing yourself one day?
Yeah, I would. I'd I've tried doing some, but the lyrics is what I'm currently getting stuck on. So I'll continue to work with that and see what we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So during lockdown, a lot of musicians were struggling. It was a nightmare for most of them. But you actually won a few competitions in that time, didn't you?
Yeah, I won one in Singapore, in America, and in Germany. And I found lockdown for me, it's been amazing to be able to compete in competitions around the world when you don't actually need to leave your house. Like you can just be in your house and do it all from the comfort of your own home, and you don't have to travel. So it's opened up more opportunities, I would say.
But would it have been quite nice to go to those places though?
Yeah, it would have been amazing to go overseas and see those places.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you're a treble just now, but that's not going to be the case forever, I guess. So would you still be wanting to sing in many years' time?
Yeah, well, I've been singing. What my singing teachers have always told me is sing through the voice change. Your voice will come out better at the other end, and you'll keep the technique that you need to sound better and to improve. And then so I've been singing, I'm singing through the voice change, and that's where I'm working on that breaking point. So then I'm probably will keep some of the higher stuff if I keep on using it, and then that'll be classified as a countertenor.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like you've maybe got to treasure your voice in the moment because perhaps, you know, it's going to change, so you want to use as much of it as you can at this point?
Yeah, with the album that I just recently recorded, my head voice boy treble classical album, that we want to do that because my voice is eventually going to go, or if I do still keep the range up there, it will sound very different. But so then we were looking to do that for a while, and then we got the studio time and we've recorded it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else do you like to get up to outside of music? Do you have a life outside?
Yeah, well, I like riding my bike, being with the cats, and taekwondo and friends.
That's quite a fun life. And have you got any other projects that are coming up soon?
Yes, the album, and maybe later this year, a contemporary album.
That's exciting. And in the very far future, or maybe even just the near future, do you want to do even more styles and branch out to different things?
Yeah, because classical, you can't just stay in classical because there's a whole 20 years where there's nothing to do. So that's why we started looking at contemporary, but it's also very fun to do contemporary, and I'll be continuing to branch out in contemporary and do musical theatre and as I said before, pop. Oh no, not pop. Jazz and rock.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. Well, where can we keep up to date with you and, of course, listen to all the songs that you've recorded?
You can keep up with me at antoniodellatorre.com, which will have a link to my Facebook, Instagram and YouTube channel.
Great. Well, many thanks for joining us here on the show today. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you.